Welcome everybody the Daybreak Podcast, episode 4. We're here at the Negative Space Gallery. Our guest today is Miss Tessa LeBaron. Tessa's a visual artist here, located in Cleveland, Ohio. She's here at the Negative Space Gallery. We're here in her little studio. It's a Negative Space is kind of like a big shared space type studio, and she's got her own little nook up here. We're surrounded by tons of her beautiful artwork. I was kind of I looked at all of her stuff online, and it doesn't really do it justice until you see it in person. She's got some really, really amazing stuff here that we're going to talk about, and kind of talk about her inspiration and kind of what makes her tick, and what kind of keeps her plugging along as an artist. I met Tessa recently. She's a new friend, a friend of a friend, and I don't know too much about her or too much about her life and her story, so I'm really excited to get to know her a little bit better today and give her an opportunity to show the world who she is as a person, who she is as an artist, and how those two things work together, being a person and being an artist. Because being an artist is definitely more than just a profession. There's definitely a lot of personal touch that goes into being an artist, as everybody knows. So we're going to do today's ad read. This episode of the Daybreak Podcast is brought to you by Daybreak Enterprises. Daybreak is headquartered in sunny Cleveland, Ohio. It's a custom apparel company specializing in screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, and custom tie-dye apparel. From beer league softball jerseys, event apparel, to large corporate accounts, Daybreak has solutions for everybody. Are you or your organization interested in getting some new apparel made? Head over to Daybreak Enterprises, CLE.com today to browse their portfolio and get inspiration for your next project. Again, that's Daybreak Enterprises, CLE.com to get started on your next custom apparel project. All right. Well, we're glad to have you today, Tess, and it's a pleasure to officially meet you in person.
Oh, thank you, Kyle.
Yeah. So, I want you to kind of give us a quick overview here of the Negative Space Gallery. I know you kind of briefly told me about it, but I want to kind of hear some more about it, and tell everybody kind of where we're at, where we're located, what this place is all about, and kind of what brought you over here to the Negative Space Gallery.
Oh, for sure. So Negative Space is a gallery and platform for the arts, music, poetry, and kind of like all branches of art. The gallery was founded by Gadi Zamir, who is a really wonderful artist. He does wood burning and painting, and he works on these really giant wood panels. And
Yeah, no, sorry to interrupt you, but when we first walked in, you showed me some of his stuff. Pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah.
It's I like how he does a lot of like really big pieces of artwork. I'm always a fan of like really big pieces and whatnot. But his stuff seemed pretty awesome.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's incredible, and he's a big inspiration to me because he's a very hardworking artist. He's always working like every day. And there's a lot of symbolism in his art, and just he's very enthusiastic about what he does. And I think a big part of that too is being an artist is not just what he does, but who he is.
Yeah, I know we briefly talked about that, like how our personalities really like come through in our art. And I know for me personally, sometimes that can be like almost like emotionally draining, because it's like I'm dumping my blood, sweat, and tears and my soul into my artwork and stuff like that. And just sitting here looking at your stuff, I mean, it's so your artwork seems like so deeply personal and really like deeply emotional. So I can imagine a lot of this work that you do, it can definitely be like emotional and taxing and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And yeah, that's a big thing. It's yeah, it's like how far do I open up the book, to um
Yeah, it's like how much of your it's like how much am I willing to put myself out there, and
yeah, yeah,
how vulnerable am I willing to make myself?
but it's
How
also
vulnerable am I feeling today?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, it's like but I think it's a very cathartic thing as well. And yeah, I love being at Negative Space. We also have a few other artists in the gallery. We have Linda Dempsey, and she's a really wonderful driftwood artist and sculpture artist. Um, Cara Romano, who does jewelry and watercolor paintings. Um, and then there's me. I have a studio here at Negative Space. Um, the gallery also hosts shows and open mic night. So it's a very diverse, eclectic combination of things, and I think there's something for everyone here.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. It seems like you've really found yourself a nice little nook up here and like a space for yourself to feel comfortable and to be able to like really work on artwork that you feel like is true to you. And um so it seems like a pretty awesome spot up here. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your upbringing, just kind of like the basic stuff, like where you're from and um whatever you want to talk about with your upbringing.
Sure. So I grew up in Ashtabula, which is about an hour away from Cleveland. I kind of grew up in the country, so I was, surrounded by a lot of woods and hiked in the woods, and it's Ashtabula is pretty close to the lake out there too. It's kind of a smaller town. There wasn't as many opportunities, like as there is in Cleveland. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
It's definitely a smaller town, and if you're trying to really like immerse yourself in like an art scene or anything like that, you definitely would have to like kind of come over to like Cleveland and get kind of right into the thick of things, which you've definitely done here. Like the studio's right in kind of the heart of, I would say, like Cleveland's art district, if you even wanted to call it that. So you're kind of right in the thick of things, but you know, I can see how I could totally see though, like how growing up in a place like Ashtabula County, like gives you a lot of inspiration because there is that it is kind of like a rural, semi-rural kind of county. You are close, right on Lake Erie for the most part, and I could totally see how like you could get a lot of inspiration from being in that kind of area.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, but even though it's like a smaller city or town, whatever, I I have a appreciation for that. I liked growing up in a small town. Even though like I was kind of bored as a kid, I think that um was compelling me to be creative. Like when there isn't much to do, like as there is in a city.
Yeah,
I think you're more driven to be creative where you're at in a smaller area.
yeah, I think that's like a good a good place to kind of move on and talk about like um growing up out there. Like, when did you start officially like exploring your artistic side and kind of start making things? I know like most kids, they are starting to explore their artistic side through school and whatnot, but was there like a part of you that kind of was already like taking your artwork like a little more seriously when you were growing up, like more so than other kids?
So I've been painting and drawing since I was really little. My mom has always been a very big supporter of my art. Um, she's a pretty artistic person. She doesn't do art anymore. She went to college and took some art courses. She did photography and painting and all that.
Yeah.
But even though she doesn't do it anymore, she has always been like critiquing my art and like always like helping me correct like my proportions and stuff. So she definitely has like an eye for detail. So yeah, my mom's definitely a big influence on my art. My dad, um, he passed away a few years ago, but growing up, my dad, he was always definitely a very creative person growing up. My dad was a musician and a mechanic, and I feel like he should have been a comedian as well because he was just always like making up like jingles and um he was just always like very entertaining, outgoing person. And I remember one time he made this like tin man, like this giant tin man for his tire shop, like out of like old car parts, and like put it by the side of the road, and it was like an advertisement for his tire shop. And
That's awesome. That's funny.
yeah, he was always like a really creative person. So yeah, both my parents were very creative growing up, and yeah, I'm pretty thankful for that.
Yeah, it sounds like you have
Hmm.
creative family, and um so like throughout high school and stuff, were you kind of like considering like pursuing art professionally, or was it kind of something you were like doing on the side and like you thought maybe you had to like go to college to like study something else to, or were you kind of like trying to pursue art professionally kind of from the get-go?
So I was always drawing when I was in school, especially high school. Um I think like other kids would, just see me like drawing in class, and um eventually I was asked to do a lot of like tattoo designs.
Oh yeah.
And then I don't know, that was just like becoming bigger and bigger, like people getting tattoos. Um and then eventually I like discovered Kat Von D. I I don't know why. I was just like really drawn to her, and I was like, "Oh my god, she's a woman and she's a tattoo artist. Like how like that's what I want to do."
Yeah, not only like that, like a big one, like a very big and successful one who has not only like grown her tattooing, portfolio, but she's become like a huge personality as well.
Yeah, so I was really inspired by her at the time. I was like 16 years old. Um, so I kept drawing tattoo designs for people, and at the time in Ashtabula, there was like a lot of like house shows and like punk music and like metal, and which I was into. Um, and
Tessa, I would just talk a little bit closer into the
oh,
mic.
sorry.
No, you're
Yeah.
good.
Um, so
Yeah, like right there. Is perfect.
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No,
um, so I was, yeah, like I said, I was drawing a lot of tattoo designs for people, and then I remember my friend at the time bought like a tattoo machine, and he was like, "I don't know how to draw, but I want to tattoo. Would you want to practice tattooing with me?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I started practicing tattooing at like a very young age, and I was practicing on friends, and they were just kind of like really goofy tattoos that weren't very good. And
yeah, is it one of those like wireless tattoo guns? Like, you know which ones I'm talking about, or is it one of like the old school style ones? Because I've seen a lot of people using those like wireless ones that are like run off a battery.
yes, I think it had a wire. I'm trying to remember. It was a while ago. But yeah, so I was tattooing like really goofy things on a few friends, and then I discovered I kind of got queasy because like there was like blood, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. It's not my thing.
Yeah. So you kind of started doing some tattoos on people. Are you somebody that's like into tattoos, or is it just kind of a way to like get your artwork out there and like maybe make a little bit of money? 'Cause, yeah, I know some folks like I got tattooed by a guy in Indonesia with bamboo, and he's like known in Indonesia as being like one of the best bamboo tattoo artists, and he does thousands of bamboo tattoos a year, and he has 0 tattoos. 0. He has none. He's not interested in getting any on himself. So I always thought that was interesting. Are you like into tattoos? Do you have tattoos yourself?
um, oh, that's fascinating, by the way. Oh, that's wild. Yeah, I've always loved tattoos. I have a few tattoos on my leg. And most of it's drawings that I've made for myself, and yeah, I've always been like into that, and fascinated by it, and I think it's an interesting art too, because it it goes where you go, and it's a part of you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It stays a part of you kind of forever. So, I know art college is the thing that a lot of people do. Is that something that you did or you were interested in all? Or did you kind of like finish high school and then kind of just like move on and do something else?
So after I graduated high school, I really wanted to paint, and after the tattoo thing, I
After your career as a
after
tattoo
very short-lived career.
short-lived tattoo artist career, yeah.
I
It was fun while it lasted. I got a little queasy. Got a little queasy. I got a little queasy. Had to kind of step away.
yeah, I got yeah. I real quick, I remember I tattooed this like it was like a sailboat. It was like the cheesiest looking sailboat on my friend, and underneath the sailboat in old English letters, I tattooed "sail on," and
I like it. I actually have a huge clipper ship tattooed on my leg. Maybe I'll put sail on underneath it.
yeah,
Just keep on sailing.
yeah, it was so cheesy. And anyway, after that whole thing, um, I um, I I think like my first love was painting. I just wanted to keep painting and on canvas. So um, I remember I had this like career class like my senior year of high school, and we had to write down what we were going to do after we graduated, and I wrote, I want to be an artist, I want to be a painter. And I remember my teacher at the time was like, you can't just be an artist, like you know
Like really, says who? Like
so I was like, so then I was kind of like, all right, well, maybe I can find something that's art related. So I decided to get into graphic design. I went to Lakeland Community College a couple years for graphic design, and I took some courses there, and um, I'm glad I did. It was, it was helpful, and then eventually I started working at um, a few t-shirt companies, and I learned like graphic production and logo design, and so I was able to really get experience with that.
were you doing like separations and stuff for the companies, or were you just kind of helping them with design stuff? But just real quick, for those of you who don't know what separations are in screen printing, every single color of a piece of artwork has to be separated into individual pieces. So like, let's say, for example, let's say I'm looking at a little rainbow and the rainbow's 3 colors and it's green, yellow, and pink. You would need to separate each of those colors into one image, because in screen printing with one screen you can only print one color on each screen. So if you're printing a 3-color rainbow on a t-shirt, you would need 3 different screens. Each screen would have one color of the rainbow on it. So that's what separations is. And a big role that graphic artists play in the screen printing industry is they will separate the colors of artwork so that they can be screen printed on t-shirts and other articles of clothing. But sorry to just to kind of explain that to the audience. But so did you start working for like print shops and stuff like that, or just like companies like doing design work, or what, or were you doing like separations and stuff?
Yeah, no, for sure. I was doing the first job I had at a print shop, I was actually doing graphic design, like formatting stuff to be ready to be printed on t-shirts. And I also did some printing myself. At first I was doing heat press, and then eventually I did a little bit of screen printing.
These are in shops out in Ashtabula.
Yeah,
or
the one
closer to
shop
Cleveland.
was in Ashtabula, and then I worked at one in Cleveland. The one in Ashtabula, I was able to do some design work, and that was really fun. I remember this one time, oh, by the way, we would do like custom designs on the spot, or, it would take within the hour, a couple days, it depended on the design. I remember this one customer came in, and she wanted a very specific design of her cats. And she wanted her cats' names in the form of a crossword puzzle with all of her. She had like 10 cats. And
Let me guess, she wanted 3 shirts made.
Yeah. It was like,
1 sweatshirt.
yeah, yep, exactly, yeah. It was, yeah, so, I had to sit down and figure out how to organize her cats' names in the form of a crossword puzzle on this t-shirt, and it was like really hard to do.
Yeah, anytime you get a request like that, it's basically impossible to make anything that they're actually going to like. It's just too specific and difficult,
Mm-hmm.
I understand your pain. So how long were you kind of working in these shops for, and where did you kind of go from there?
I was doing printing and working at t-shirt shops for a few years. And then I moved to Cleveland, and then I was working at another print shop. And then I got laid off my job because it was a seasonal thing. So it kind of compelled me to make the big leap of trying to do art, full time. And that's how it happened.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, you would say like you're basically functioning as like a full-time artist now?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
And yeah, so is there anything like really specific about your upbringing that inspires your artwork, like directly, or anything like that that you want to talk about as far as like inspiration?
That's a great question. So, growing up, like I said, I was surrounded by nature. Um, so, you can see a lot of nature related elements in my art. Um, Going back to like growing up in my childhood, I kind of had a rough childhood. Um, Even though my, my dad, he was very artistic, creative person. He struggled with drug addiction, so that was, hard on the family, and um it was difficult to have a relationship with him. And when I was about 6 years old, my parents split up, and he moved out of state for work. Um, so that always had an effect on me. When he came back 4 years later, he wasn't really in the picture too much, and I think he was struggling a lot, and um, you know, pe- people that are dealing with that issue, it's one of those things that gets the best of them, and so I have a pretty big understanding for that. You know, um, it was hard growing up. It
Yeah,
was.
addiction, alcoholism, drug addiction, um, it as most people know, is like in most cases completely debilitating. And even if your dad wanted to, I'm sure your dad wanted to have a connection and a relationship with his daughter. Um, there's something uniquely devastating about drug and alcohol addiction that basically doesn't even allow you to have functional relationships with people. And yeah, I can imagine that being like really difficult to deal with growing up. I'm sorry you had to deal with that.
Yeah, it was hard, and it was hard to navigate growing up, and I think that's one of the reasons I was channeling my emotions through artwork a lot. Um,
Yeah, well, it's really good that you were able to like find something that you were able to channel your emotions and difficulties into. A lot of people, unfortunately, they have parents that struggle with addiction, and they also end up falling into that same cycle because I mean, like sometimes for folks that are struggling and they have family members or parents that are struggling, the only outlet they really know of, or the only outlet that they really find, is drugs and alcohol, and that's why it becomes such a cyclical, like, family disease and a genetic disease at that.
yeah, it's it's a it's a hard journey. I think for everyone, on each side, and I I'm happy I was able to have like my art to be creative and distract myself from that. Um, Growing up, I was also really listening to a lot of music like shoegaze and punk. Um, and I think I started drawing a lot of music related imagery as well. So that was a big influence on me. Um,
No, no, you're good.
yeah, I yeah, so I managed through, and yeah, I just kept doing my thing and listening to music and making art, and um I would use music as a poetic tool for my art. And
Yeah.
I think everything I've been through with my dad struggling with drug addiction and alcohol, and um I think I used it in art to ground my experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think it's great that you were able to find an outlet, like a positive outlet, and instead of falling into the same kind of patterns that your dad struggled with, because we see that happen all the time with people, is that alcoholism and drug addiction becomes a cyclical kind of family thing, and the cycle kind of can tend to repeat itself. But it's again, it sounds like you really found a way to deal with that in like a healthy way.
Yeah, I had a lot of influences growing up too. Like music wise, um I don't know, I was always like really drawn to um let's see, what kind of music did I listen to? I listened to a lot of The Cure, I listened to a lot of Green Day. um I know you mentioned Radiohead,
Yeah, oh yeah.
but we'll get to that. I always liked Radiohead. Um I also listened to like a lot of Incubus. That was like a big band I listened to growing up. And I was very influenced by that band. Also the frontman, Brandon Boyd, is an artist. And I was really influenced by his ink and watercolor drawings. Um and yeah, even like the imagery and the songwriting and the music, it was just inspiring to me. And there's something like some of the music, it's like the first few records were kind of like funky and like of Incubus, like funky and like,
Yeah.
and then it like some were heavy and I don't know, but there's always been like this like zen or meditative uh influence in the music, so that definitely inspired my artwork. And I think that's why like I draw a lot of like lotus flowers and koi
Yeah.
fish.
I never really got into Incubus. I know my sister really liked it. I can't tell you that I really listened to it too much. I was kind of too busy listening to Radiohead. I kind of became like a obsessive over Radiohead to the point where like there was probably like a 4 or 5, 6 year period. And it was 90% of what I listened to was Radiohead, just over and over and over again. And but I can totally relate to being influenced by music, and it's interesting how just music in and of itself can influence visual art, and how like two forms of artistic expression can kind of cross paths with each other.
Oh, for sure, yeah. It's a beautiful thing, bringing two worlds together. I have a lot of friends, in the Cleveland arts scene that, are multifaceted, and I think that's really amazing. Like, like Juice Man, and I think it's really awesome that he not only does art but does rap and
Yeah.
music and makes beats, like, and so it's really fascinating to me because I just do art, but maybe one day it'd be fun to kind of like experiment with music. And
Yeah, I'm definitely into music. I play guitar. Daybreak actually was a band at one point when I in like my mid 20s.
oh, sweet.
So I kind of just recycled the name
Oh, that's
when I when
awesome.
I started this company.
The origins of Daybreak.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. Some people know that, and a lot of people don't know that because a lot of folks don't even know that Daybreak was a band. It was kind of short lived, but when I was starting this company, I was like, kind of like Daybreak. I'm just gonna recycle that, and I was like, I don't think a lot of people even really knew about us, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I kind of my guitar playing is really interesting because it's like I'll have periods of time where I'm playing a lot of guitar, and then I'll have like months where I don't even pick up a guitar, and I don't like really even force myself to like try. I know like a lot of folks would kind of like force themselves to pick up the guitar and like kind of force themselves to try to play or whatever. And for me, if I'm not feeling it, if I'm not feeling like playing, and when I'm playing guitar, like even just in my house by myself, I'm the vast majority of the time I'm when I pick up a guitar, I'm immediately writing. I'm writing music, I'm writing riffs, I'm putting music together. Um and in the back of my mind, I'd love to have another band, um and kind of like do that whole thing again. But there's some stipulations for sure. Like I would I would definitely like need help with songwriting. This if I did start another band, because I'm not trying to write all the music myself again. I would need help, and I would need like my other guitar player, bass player to like help me write songs. 'Cause it's just kind of a lot on your plate to like write all the music yourself. And but yeah, no, I definitely kind of like I definitely my music and my artwork are definitely like pretty they definitely cross paths, and I think you should try. I mean, there's plenty of like, little electronic instruments now that are cost effective, like little keyboards and stuff that you can mess around with and like make beats on. And I think it taps into like a different part of your brain, like the part of my brain that wants to, paint and make artwork is different from the part of my brain that wants to write music. And it's definitely something you should try. I would encourage that for sure.
For sure, it's like a shifting gears. And I think it's really awesome to be like in touch with that side of your brain and be able to create something doing music. That's that's awesome that you play guitar.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a couple guitars now. I got like or I got three, but I got two that are like, I used to have a bunch more, but I've kind of like sold off a bunch of equipment, and now I got like two electric guitars that I really like. One of them is custom built that I kind of put together myself, and then another one is just like an off the shelf guitar but I've kind of like narrowed down my music collection, and to have stuff that I don't like holding on to a bunch of gear that I'm not using, or I'm not that interested in. So yeah, it's I love playing guitar, and I like um writing guitar riffs and stuff like that. And
Yeah, and even if you don't do it all the time, you can always come back to it, you know? It's like
yeah,
one
they're
of those
always
things
yeah.
you can put to the side and you know, sometimes the most creative and awesome ideas come from like the most ordinary moments, and that's the beauty. You can come back to it and be like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like the guitars and stuff, they're always sitting there waiting for me. They're always waiting for me to pick them up. Um, they're always there, kind of hanging out, ready for me to use them. It's just like a paintbrush. Just
Hmm.
like a paintbrush is always sitting there waiting for you. You just have to, when the time's right and when you're feeling it, you got to just pick it up and kind of start doing your thing. I don't know about you, if you can relate to this at all, but like my creativity comes in waves, and whether that's writing music or creating visual art or designs for my clothing and stuff like that, like it'll come, like I'll feel like really have like an explosive amount of creativity where I'm just like dumping all this creativity out there, and then it kind of dries up a little bit. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time for me to feel inspired again, or like have like another surge of creativity. Does that happen with you at all, like with your artwork, or do you kind of feel like at any point in time you can tap into that side of your brain?
Yeah, being creative can be a very difficult process. You know, l- like this world is very overstimulating, and I think it's hard to like organize your thoughts sometimes. I definitely get like artist blocks, and then I definitely um get um like periods of time where that's all I'm doing, and I'm just like my wheels are spinning, and that's all I'm doing is just creating and writing ideas down. Yeah, it's hard to navigate, especially when you're going through the artist block.
Yeah, I guess that's got to be really challenging for you, because you're a professional artist, and Something's making some noise over there.
Yeah, there's always like a weird noises throughout this building.
Yeah.
It's an old industrial building.
Yeah, it's all good. That's got to be challenging for you. You know, you're a professional artist. This is your profession. It's your livelihood, and you know, you gotta constantly kind of have some kind of creativity flow going. I know for me too, like, you know, my designs for my clothing and stuff is pretty seasonal. So I'm always trying to like, I always, even if I'm not, I'm sure you do the same exact thing, but like if I have an idea for like a shirt or something, I'll write it down or I'll create artwork for it and just store it in my computer, and then I just have it ready to go, like in case I want to pull it out. And that's kind of how I like to do it too, because just to have like a steady stream of stuff that I can put out there, and a design that I can pull out and try at any given time. So do you kind of feel that way too? You try to just, if you're feeling creative, you're trying just to make stuff, and then if you use it, you use it, or if you don't, you don't.
Yeah, I think it's great to look back on old ideas. Like, I'll look through my old sketchbooks and I'll revisit old ideas, and you know, it might be things that are like half sketched out that I never finish, and I think it's fun to kind of like bring that into the picture. No pun intended. And like kind of work on that, and you know, and I think like when you are kind of stumped and going through an artist block, I think it's really important to know when to take a step back, and I think it's good to like empty your mind and like go do something else for a while and come back to it, and then you leave room for growth, and then I think new ideas can appear.
Yeah, sure. Well, let's pivot a little bit and talk about some of the stuff that you've been doing. Like, I see, after reviewing like your portfolio and your Instagram, it seems like you do a lot of mural work. Um, is this mural work something that you've been doing like your entire professional career, or is it something that's like happened more recently, or is that work kind of like come and go sporadically? Like, tell us more about the mural work.
Oh, sure. So, yeah, I never thought I would be doing murals.
I never thought I'd print T-shirts.
What a great surprise.
Yeah, it just kind of happened.
Yeah. Like, back in 2017, there was this, at Geneva Lake, there's this place called the Cove nightclub, and they had a mural that was weathered, and it was like done in the 80s, and it was just falling apart, and it was just so the business owner was looking for an artist to repaint like a newer version of this mural, and it was uh like notable musicians and guitars and musical elements on the mural.
Now, was he kind of like vocal about that? Was he putting it out there to the public that he was looking for somebody, or did you kind of like just hear that through the grapevine?
He actually reached out to me. There aren't too many mural artists out that way.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The reason I asked it, I was just wondering. Yeah, like,
no, that's a good question.
Was that something that happened organically, or did you kind of was he putting the feelers out there publicly, and then you kind of reached out to him? But it sounds like he reached out to you.
Yeah, it was kind of a word of mouth situation. So yeah, he approached me with the idea, and I had the opportunity to paint my first mural at this nightclub, and yeah, it was really cool. It was a pretty big wall too. I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. Like, it was my first mural, but I learned a lot, and I did a lot of research. I asked a lot of questions.
You did your due diligence. Yeah.
Yeah. I
And that's, sorry to interrupt you. That's like part of being a professional, though. right? Like that's what separates professionals from amateurs, right? It's like you took the time to reach out to people, to ask questions, to figure out how I can best do this. And that's what professionals do, right? Amateurs would just kind of show up and do whatever they think is right, and then if the club owner's happy, they're happy. If they're not happy, well, screw them. They don't appreciate my artwork. But you took the time and you did your due diligence, and which is part of being a professional.
Absolutely. I think it's really important to also be really enthusiastic about the kind of job you're taking on as well.
And there's that respect aspect too, because you respect, like you respect that club and you respect that club owner. Like this person is trusting me to decorate their business, right? Because that's what you're doing, and you part of being respectful to that mission is reaching out to other people and like doing your due diligence and doing your research and stuff like that. So I think that's cool.
For sure. I was really excited. I kind of fell in love with it. I kept wanting to do even more murals. And then the candy shop next door asked me to do a mural. And then it kind of just like happened like that. It just more and more opportunities kept popping up for me.
And those opportunities kind of popped up pretty organically, or were you doing like, have you ever done like actual like reaching out like to folks and being like, hey, I can fix your mural here, or like, hey, would you guys be interested in a mural? Do you do any of that, or does it all kind of just come on its own?
A lot of it was word of mouth. I do reach out to businesses to, every once in a while I'll spot a wall, like a blank wall, and I'll imagine like how cool would that be if there was a sweet design on that wall.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
that's where you get to do a little bit of like saleswoman. You can be a little saleswoman and
yeah.
be like, hey, I've done these awesome murals. Check them out. I could do the same thing for you. And that's what I do with my business, right? Like if I see businesses that have shirts that I think look terrible, the problem with the problem that I run into is like businesses will get all these shirts made. The shirts look terrible. They can't sell any of them because they look terrible. And the business owners are just like, well, I'd love to get shirts from you, but I can't get rid of any of these. So, you know, but that's cool that I think you should continue to try doing that. Try being a little bit of a saleswoman and like sell your services.
Absolutely. I definitely fell in love with murals because it was more than just like painting a canvas. It was like transforming a whole entire space.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like hardcore like interior design, and like um especially when it comes to like I love the murals. Like when I drive down West 25th every day to get to work at my other job, and some of the murals that they've done over there in Little Puerto Rico are awesome, and it just like totally like brings a whole neighborhood to life when you see that. It's just I love it. I love street art. I've always been super into street art and that whole thing. What are some of the biggest challenges you face when creating murals from your perspective?
Some of the biggest challenges are, let's see, painting on brick is challenging.
Yeah, tell us about that. Like
Yeah, brick is a gritty surface. It's hard to get.
super porous too, right?
Oh yeah. It's hard to get good coverage on brick sometimes. Um, but you know what? I make it work.
Yeah, that kind of leads us into like another question I had about it is like what types of materials and stuff are you actually like what type of paint and brushes and that kind of stuff are you actually using when you're like painting outdoor murals and stuff?
I use latex paints. Well, if it's an exterior mural, I'll use like exterior latex paints. I hand brush everything. I have more of like an illustrative style, so I like to include all the details and bold lines. Yeah, so the kind of brushes I use, especially like for the brick walls I was just talking about, I use kind of like crappy brushes, to be honest, because they're gonna get ruined.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they work, right? Like,
Yeah.
but it's just a matter of using what works, but like not dumping a lot of money into it because they're just gonna get destroyed.
Yeah, and I think it's good to use like thick brushes too, especially painting walls and um yeah.
When you're covering like large areas with like single color, do you ever consider spraying to get into like those pores and stuff, or would spraying just be a disaster?
I would like to practice spray painting. That's definitely a goal of mine, to become better with that.
Yeah, it's a whole spray painting is like it's like its own beast in and of itself. It's inherently chaotic and messy, but that's kind of what I love so much about it is the unpredictability of it and the how chaotic it can be. Um, oh yeah, that's what I also wanted to ask about the murals. When you're finishing the murals and stuff, is there anything you coat on them for like UV resistance or anything on it that you coat in particular to help like weathering and helping to like finish the mural itself?
I haven't used much like sealants on my murals, just because especially if it's like an exterior wall, the paint itself is pretty durable. It will last a long time.
Long enough for it
Hmm.
to not make like a huge difference.
Yeah, the kind of paint I use, it's made for like exterior surfaces to, withstand weather conditions and um sunlight. But I have used a product called like an anti-graffiti coat. Sherwin-Williams offers it, and it's crazy. It makes the colors pop.
That's what I love so much about finishing things, especially with
Yeah.
like a gloss finish or a semi gloss, is it can really like increase that like pop or definition of the color.
Yeah, and some of the reasons I would use like that anti-graffiti coat is to just prevent vandalism, like other people like tagging my mural. But I I feel like when you paint a mural or artwork on like a um public art, I think people tend to be pretty
Graffiti
respective.
artists are going to be pretty respected unless you're in like a tough neighborhood where like graffiti artists and there's gang activity, really like active gang activity and really active graffiti artists that are trying to like hold down their turf, so to speak, then yeah, you're probably going to get vandalized. But if you're in like neighborhoods where there's not as much gang activity and whatnot, you're probably going to be fine. And you're right. I think graffiti artists will have that like mutual respect for your artwork.
Oh, for sure. Mhm.
Well, that's awesome. I just wanted to know more about the murals because I saw that's like a big thing um, that I saw in your portfolio and whatnot. There also, when I reviewed your portfolio, there seems to be a lot of feminine themes in your work. Um, is there anything you want to like touch on when it comes to like the feminine aspects of your artwork? Why don't you try to tell us more about that? Whatever you want to tell us about it.
Yeah, there is a lot of feminine aspects in my art. I think this is just because I use my experiences as a woman to convey meaning in my art. The women in each paintings are kind of like different characters for things I'm expressing or experimenting in painting. Um, my work is feminine in essence, and this is not only because I am a woman, but also because I feel like I connect with the gentleness of femininity with our communication and nature. Um, and I think the best way for me to express myself is to put myself into my art and my experiences as a woman. I have a lot of themes like women and imagery that's kind of representative of Mother Nature.
I mean, you got something like right behind you. I've been staring at them this whole time, like this huge piece right behind you. Kind of feels like it's in that sort of direction, and you got one here too.
Yeah, I think my style, a lot of my characters are intertwined with like foliage and florals, and I tend to do that because um, I kind of want to convey like progression, and we're in a very digital era, and I think we're kind of getting further away from being in touch with the environment. So I think that's why I do it.
Yeah.
That's why my painting styles like that.
Yeah, trying to almost like reinforce that like connection between man and nature and woman and nature, and like that we all come from the earth, and that we all come from nature, and that it is all still intertwined and interconnected. And it's tough though sometimes. We're down in the heart of Cleveland right here in the concrete jungle, and it's like, but then the cool thing about Cleveland is about 2 minutes away you got Lake Erie, and it's just beautiful. And like, I mean, now it's like I can just go down to Lake Erie and just like stand there for 10 minutes and listen to the waves crashing against the rocks, and it's just the most relaxing thing. And that's why I'm so grateful to even have like Lake Erie here in Cleveland. And because it is like you can be in the concrete jungle, and then less than 5 minutes you can be standing next to the lake listening to the waves crash, and just like for me it just kind of calms me down and calms my mind down. Do you feel that way too when it comes to being in nature? Do you feel like it helps kind of calm you down and help you feel like more grounded?
Absolutely. I think, nature is a great way to reflect on yourself and, reconnect with yourself. And yeah, it's a big reason why I include it in a lot of my art.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just another question I had. I know like I feel like sometimes in the world we live in, it can feel like women can sometimes feel like the world is out to get them, whether political issues that are going on or just like social issues in general. Women can kind of sometimes feel like people and places and things are out to get them, or that their voice isn't being heard. Is that something that you feel like you've struggled at all with in your life? Or how do you, is there ways like with your artwork that it kind of like helps you deal with it? Because like with your artwork, right, the artwork is like the purest form of expression and being able to make your voice heard. Do you feel like that helps you as a woman to make your voice heard in a world full of loud voices and stuff like that?
That's a great question. To be honest, I haven't had much issue because I'm a woman. I've definitely witnessed that happen, where it's hard to get your voice out there. It's a big problem, and I think the world is getting better at that. I think,
I would have to agree. As much as
yeah,
I feel like women do struggle and there's still issues that a lot of women have just by being a woman, I think even like in the political world, like you do see like women representation like really increasing. Like that's on both sides of the aisle. There's lots of conservative women that have their voices heard, and there's lots of liberal women that have their voices heard. But I think still like it can be a man's world, especially like in the business world, and it can definitely be a man's world. And I could totally see where like men can have a tendency to like talk over women and mansplain, and like, and that can be like extremely frustrating for women, especially women that don't have like the ability to express themselves. Maybe they're not as artistically inclined or things like that. But if you wanted to talk about anything like that, again, I'll shut up and stop mansplaining.
fine. You're good. That's a great question. Like, yeah, I'm noticing a lot of opportunities opening up to include women. I've even been involved in some opportunities. Last year? There was a mural call in Columbus to involve women in this mural project. I was really happy to have the chance to go down there and paint a mural. And one of their goals was to include women and have their voice and their art, be seen and heard. And so that was a really great opportunity. And I'm noticing a lot of that in Cleveland as well. So I'm really happy to see more people are coming together and, doing something about it and making art happen and with women and coming together for that reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I'm glad you feel like you are able to like have your voice heard, and you do feel like you are able to be included in not only the artistic world but just in the world in general. I know we kind of talked about it, but do you feel like your femininity helps, like the femininity in your artwork helps you feel more empowered as a woman? Does it make you feel more empowered as a person or as a woman, or do you not really think too much about like being a woman in the world and you kind of just like do your own thing?
I definitely use femininity, in my art a lot, and I really do use it in my art as as my voice. And I to answer your question, yes, it's a big part of who I am and expressing myself for sure. And I use it as a tool as well.
Yeah, it's just, it's interesting for me, like my other job, I work in healthcare, and women in general are overrepresented in healthcare. Majority of doctors now are actually women. Majority of medical school graduates are women, and obviously the majority of nurses and whatnot are women. So it can be hard for me to like remember that that's not the case in the rest of the world. And like my girlfriend, for example, she works in a industry that's dominated by men, and she has a lot of issues. She struggles with a lot of like barriers and whatnot, and working in an industry that's completely dominated by men, and not only men but very hard-headed and rigid men that aren't really willing to listen to women and they're all the time, and um so yeah, I think it's just like a good topic to talk about, and it was definitely themes that I saw like in your artwork, and that's kind of why I just wanted to like bring that up and get a little bit more of your input on it. So
for sure, actually, the painting right behind you, I did in response to kind of like the state of the world right now, and just I've always been really passionate about like women's rights and all that. So therefore I kind of like made a painting that kind of represents, like the women's fight. And it's like the women, they kind of have their hands covered over their faces, and they're kind of like holding each other, and it's just like it's almost like one of those it's like they're trying to convey, don't look now, the world's kind of going downhill, but we gotta keep fighting, keep getting our voices heard. And those are some themes I like to express in some of my art.
yeah, it's awesome stuff. And it's a blessing to be able to like we've talked about, like it is a blessing in my opinion to be able to express ourselves artistically, because there are a lot of women and people in general that they either aren't able to express themselves artistically, or they just don't feel like they can express themselves. So like there's a part of me that always feels grateful that I am able to express myself and my feelings artistically and creatively. So we did talk about like the outdoors and whatnot. and like obviously you draw a ton of inspiration from the outdoors. Is there any like activities and stuff you like doing outdoors for fun and whatnot, or what do you like to do outdoors?
I love hiking. Honestly, I love jogging. I like long distance running. I was in cross country as a kid,
Oh,
so
so was my girlfriend. Yeah,
oh sweet.
she did cross country too, and her sister. So I've run a lot in the past year. I ran a half marathon, was training for a full
That's
marathon,
awesome.
got injured, and
Oh no.
I've been in the weight room for several years, but I would like to get back into running. But yeah, tell us more about running.
But I'm not fast. Just I was always like the last one, like across the finish line, but
You did your best.
yeah,
Good.
that's all we can do is do our best.
For sure. Do you still run now?
I do. I actually it's been like I haven't done like races in a long time. It's been like 10 years, but like I actually did a 5K this year and there was like a lot of people involved in this 5K and I um ran in fourth place in my age group and I was like,
it's awesome.
wow.
Yeah, you're like, maybe I should start doing more of this again.
Yeah, it's good exercise too. And like I said, like when you're having like an artist block, I think it's good to go do something else, and that's definitely something I like to do um when I'm not doing art. And it's a way for me to be outside.
Yeah, physical activity and physical exertion is huge for me. Like I grew up playing sports, and then after high school and whatnot, I was running a lot. And then in my mid-20s, I was like, I want to start lifting more weights and getting bigger. And now I do a lot of weightlifting. So I'm for me, like physical activity and physical exertion is extremely like important for my mental health. But I do feel like it helps me creatively too, because it just gets all like getting the blood flowing and sweating and everything just kind of helps my brain stay like really active. I feel like that's cool. I noticed you have a series from 2018 called In Bloom. Is this related to Radiohead at all, or am I just being a Radiohead nerd?
Um, I love that you mentioned that because when you told me that earlier about you know it reminding you of Radiohead, I actually looked through that series. I haven't looked through that series in years, and I listened to that song In Bloom. I was like, whoa, this like goes so good together. um, but no, actually, maybe it did subconsciously because I do like Radiohead as well. But no, when I first created that series, it was kind of like about um, you know reclamation and like kind of leaving room for growth and like I was saying, a lot of my original art has a lot of uh like figure drawings with like vines and florals intertwined with them, and it was kind of like about just connecting the parallels between nature and emotions and um you know just like yeah, leaving room for progression pretty much.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I thought that stuff was really cool when I looked it over. Um,
Thank you.
this is a interesting question about like commission work. Now, when you're doing commission work, is it hard? Do your clients kind of like are they kind of specific about like what they want exactly? And if they do have like really specific requests, can it be hard for you to like kind of follow their requests because you feel like it's like throwing you off creatively, or do your clients kind of allow you to do what you want to do and express yourself freely? Does that question make sense? Because like let me give you an example. In screen, like in my business in screen printing, like somebody will tell me, like you talked about the cat shirts earlier, And in my mind, I'm like, this just looks terrible. Like, I don't want to print this. I don't even want to make this artwork. But you kind of got to do it anyway because that's what your client wants.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever kind of struggle with that with commission work, or do your clients kind of let you do your own thing?
Oh yeah. I have a lot of requests to paint certain things that that are challenging. But honestly, the way for me to get past it is I just kind of like I make a lot of rough drafts. Like I'll do like a preliminary sketch first, and I think it's really important to like sit down and brainstorm and kind of like make a plan of how to like achieve whatever I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Honestly, one of the biggest struggles when it comes to commission art is I do a lot of pet portraits, and honestly, the biggest challenge is sometimes people send me really blurry pictures of their pets, and it's hard to draw from.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time. People will send me like the worst artwork through a text message, and I'm like,
oh, unapologetic, because it's so true. It's hard. It's hard to work with. It's really hard to work with certain things you're given. It's like how like all right, I gotta get creative and I gotta make this come to life.
there's a thing in screen printing community like we have like a collection of like the absolute worst things that were given to us to be printed. Like people get stuff written on napkins.
Oh my gosh,
Just
I want to see what.
crazy. I'll tell a quick story. The worst thing I've ever gotten by far was this really nice older gentleman. He has like his cute little like church group, and they do like community outreach and volunteer work. And they wanted to get some T-shirts made for their little church group, and he sent me via text message. So he took a picture with his phone of like this image. Now, have you ever gotten like photos developed from like Walgreens or CVS?
Yep.
And it comes out in like the envelope, and there's like a tiny thumbnail that's like maybe a half inch by a half inch. That's what he sent me. A picture.
Oh my gosh, that's like.
And I was like,
it's like microscopic. How do you see that?
I was like, sir, I can't even see that. Like, I don't even know like what that is supposed to be. Like, can you please try to find like the original artwork? Like, I don't even know where you would have gotten that.
You should have printed it that same size on a T-shirt and be like,
just microscopic. Yeah,
like yeah, this is what the best.
So I ended up just like making a new logo for them. I'm like, how about I just make you a new one? And I just made a new one for him.
Well, that's good. That's good that you got to like kind of reinvent his vision and do something brand new.
Yeah, I'm always I got a special place in my heart for like older folks and stuff, and I'm never gonna get that annoyed with them. They're trying their best. You know,
yeah.
Poor guy just wanted some T-shirts made for his little church group. I'm not gonna give him too much of a hard time.
Yeah, and you know what? The beauty of it is we're there to help them and be the creative problem solvers. So it all works out at the end.
Yeah. So let me flip my page here. We've been doing really good with our questions here, staying on track. It's been a great interview.
I just remembered something about your question about being a woman and being in the art world.
Yeah.
Because I know you asked is it hard to get your voice out there? And I just thought of another problem that's recent that I think that applies to everyone, not just women, but is the algorithm and this tech and the digital age that we live in.
That you bring in, because I can talk about this for a few minutes.
I think it's a really big problem. Like I don't know. I remember when I first got Instagram, I didn't have this problem of people not seeing my work.
I can tell you something specific related to that. So I know a girl who does like social media management, professionally, and she manages social media accounts, and she gets like in-depth analytics done on her clients' social media accounts. And she has one client that has over 100,000 followers, and after doing an analysis, they found that 11% of that 100,000, only 11% of those followers were actually seeing the post. Like the post, so 11%, so that's like 10,000 of the 100,000 were even seeing them on their feed.
That's wild. Yeah, and I need to do more research. I need to figure out how it works, but it's just like, I don't know. I think it's hard to for some reason, to get people to see your work on social media sometimes. Um, yeah, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. It's just, I don't know why the algorithm is kind of weird.
It's so bad, and it's, the thing that's so bad about it is like, it's even the people that do follow us or even friends with us on Facebook, like they're not even seeing our stuff. So like, I have shows and I have stuff that I'm trying to promote, and my followers aren't even seeing it, and it's like, it's awful. Like, I get it that like other random folks aren't going to see it. Like, hashtags are useless now. Hashtags don't work. They don't, and so even trying to get people to see your stuff like that aren't friends with you, like that's not going to happen at all. But the frustrating thing about that is like, even the people that do follow us aren't seeing our post. And I feel like women have been, in our society, women have been like sexualized really, really badly over the last 50 or 60 years with the advent of like mainstream like pornography and stuff. And I feel like that has been extended into social media big time, because the people, like, my social media feeds are inundated with half naked women, and it's like, I don't even want to be seeing this.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is just what's being shoved down my throat, and those women and those accounts, that's what the algorithm cares about.
Yeah, and then like the other side of that, um, the artists that are, making art that might involve nudity or just, anatomical practices. It's a shame because I feel like some of those artworks and artists are being censored, and it's hard for them to get their name out, or just their art to be seen, because they might be like shadow banned, or and without even knowing it. And it's just like, but no, I see where you're coming from. And then there's like the other artistic side of it, where it's like, photographers or, artists are trying to get like their practices being censored on social media. And it's like, how free is social media allowing their artists to be? And it's actually something I want to dive into this year. I might do an art series about it, like art censorship and algorithms. And yeah, I think that might be my next venture.
I think that's a great thing to look into and to highlight. And I think for people like us I think it's really important that, yeah, we try to grow a social media presence. However, we know that the odds are, and the algorithms are stacked against us. And that's why it's even more important that we are trying to grow ourselves locally, because, we might not be able to grow ourselves that much on social media or as much as we would like to. However, we can grow ourselves in our local community with our local inside of our local art community, and then from there you can branch out to bigger and better things.
Absolutely. Yeah, defend creative autonomy.
No, seriously, I agree.
For real.
Yeah, just throw the algorithms away. Just nuke them. Just get rid of them. They're awful. They don't do anything to
You're right.
help people like us.
I started a Substack, and that's a kind of a cool platform. I started writing. Have you heard of Substack?
I've heard of Substack. Is go. Why don't you? Yeah, just go ahead and kind of explain like what it is, because I don't know too much about it.
Oh, it's just, I don't know, I wanted to branch out from painting, so I started writing and writing about like my art experiences. Like it might have been like a mural I did, or um uh some kind of creative endeavor I've done. And I'll just like write artistic stuff for fun. Like I like to make a lot of lists of like random stuff.
Yeah.
Or like music I'm listening to.
Yeah.
So, but no, I thought
So
that,
it's kind of like a blog.
yeah, it's
sort
kind
of
of like a
deal.
blog.
Now, do people subscribe to it, or is it like free to subscribe? Can't people pay you? Or
Yeah, it's pretty similar to a Patreon. Mine's free. Um, so yeah, go check it out.
yeah, we'll definitely check that out for sure. Once we get to the end of the show, we'll have you just plug your Substack, and let everybody know how to get to it.
Sweet.
We got a few more here. I know, kind of getting to the end of our questions, but what do you feel like your biggest strengths are as an artist and as a person too?
That's a great question. My strengths as an artist and a person is, I think, my strengths are staying creative. My wheels are always spinning. Um, and I think when you're an artist, you know, and I think I might have mentioned this earlier, but, I think it has two parts. And, one, um, the work of doing, and two, like the work of being an artist. And, it's not just something creativity isn't just something that you do, it's something that you are. And I definitely feel that way about myself. And I see that as a strength, because I think it's a great way to like move throughout where you are in life. And I think I'm pretty intuitive. I have pretty good interpersonal skills. It makes me a young professional. So um and I think that's really important. I think it's really important to be kind to people. It's really important to be understanding, um and be gracious with your own mistakes. I totally see that as a strength.
Yeah, I think it's important to always remember like how important having interpersonal skills are, and being able to talk to people. You're an artist, but this is also your profession, and that you are a professional. And there is that aspect of professional communication and learning how to communicate with people professionally. That's important, and it carries you forward into different aspects of your life. Um,
What are your strengths? I want to know.
oh my gosh.
I'm sorry. Do you feel like
No,
we're
you
like
can
in an
interview me.
interview,
You
like
can
we're
interview me.
like a job interview?
No, it's totally fine. Yeah, my strengths, definitely really good with people. I feel like I have a natural way of being able to talk and communicate with people, and kind of hear like where they're coming from. Running a screen printing business, it's a service based business, and you are providing a service. You're selling a product, but you're also providing a service, and part of providing a service is listening to the needs of your customers. And I try to make Daybreak be like a customer's first business, where like try to put my wants and my needs to the side, and try to just listen to what people are trying to say and what people want. And I'm not going to always agree with that. I'm going to think some things are stupid and some designs are stupid, but if that's what my customer wants, that's what I need to give them. I think my biggest weakness, honestly, is organization. I'm like wildly disorganized, and I've been like working really hard in my life to get more organized, just across the board. Like, get all my files on my computer organized, get all my paperwork organized, pay my freaking state sales tax on time. Like, so in Ohio, you have to pay your sales tax once a month,
Yeah.
and it's annoying. And I wish I could just pay it like once every 6 months or once a year, but you have to pay it once a month. So just trying to stay organized and stay on top of all that like businessman stuff, and really just like learning how to be an actual businessman and run a business. And as an artist and like creatively, I feel like I'm good with color. I think that's probably my biggest strength as an artist is like how to use color, a huge thing for me in my artwork and in my clothing is contrast. So I'm always trying to create a lot of contrast. I'm trying to use for anybody that doesn't understand what that means, I mean like contrasting dark colors with light colors. And to me, in my artwork and in my clothing design too, I try to use as much contrast as possible because I feel like when I'm using contrast, it helps to make things pop really more. Or excuse me, it helps to make things pop a lot, and I feel like that's why a lot of my clothing is really like stands out and pops because there is a ton of contrast. And I try to do a good job contrasting colors and whatnot. But yeah,
No, I agree with you. You know, us as artists, we wear many hats, and it's not just doing art. And it's about, you know, being your own financial person, your own photographer, your own promoter, your own social media person, your own uh,
it's hard. It's a lot. It's a lot.
secretary, your own administrative duties, and the list goes on. And I think that's a huge challenge sometimes. And I think I think we are pretty awesome for doing all of that,
Yeah, definitely.
taking it all on.
I think what makes us, I think what is really hard for me, and I'm sure you can totally relate to this, is that like I'm not somebody that naturally tries to draw attention to myself, but that's what I have to do to try to grow my business and grow my brand is I have to try to draw attention to my business and my brand. So for me, it is a struggle where I'm not trying to be really annoying on social media. I'm like constantly posting stuff and like I'm trying to just have a steady stream of content out there for people. And I want people to, if they like it, they like it. If they don't like it, they don't like it. But I do think that's something that I struggle with is this idea of growing myself in my business and putting myself out there when like my natural tendency is just to be quiet and kind of like stay in the background.
Or I could hypnotize everyone on this podcast. You will like Daybreak. You will. You
Yeah.
will buy Kyle's shirts.
Yeah. Just do some Jedi mind tricks on
I'm
people.
just kidding. I don't know how to do that.
No, I think we're doing just fine. Any projects, like any like dream projects that you have, like dream projects or things that you wish you could work on that you think about?
Some dream projects I have in mind is I would love to do a mural out of state or even out of the country one day. That's just me dreaming really big, but I would love to branch out and travel and learn.
I'm telling you, you could just go down to Panama or Costa Rica or
I know, that would
Ecuador.
be the dream.
Just bring some art supplies or buy supplies down there, and they'll let you do it.
Yeah, I think that would be such
Hey, I'm an artist from the United States. Like, here's what I've done. Can I do this on the side of your building? And they're like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, one day I'll make it happen. I also plan on collaborating more. I think it's a dream to collaborate with friends on murals and just any art, really. I actually have a friend who I often collaborate with on mural projects. My my friend Paige Knofel, she's an amazing artist, and she paints very organic artworks and does landscape design. And so I think it's really wonderful to be able to like collaborate and bring two styles together.
Oh yeah.
And
contrast.
Oh yeah, just like what you were saying, to work on something big and transform a space.
Because that's the thing too. Like it's contrast for me is a design philosophy. You know, it's not just colors contrasting each other. It can be styles contrasting each other. Like you could have your style contrasting Paige's style in a mural, you know.
Yeah. Shout out to Paige.
Shout out to Paige. I don't know you, Paige, but maybe we can get you on the podcast one of these days.
She's awesome. Yeah.
All right. You got any closing thoughts or questions for me or anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Well, thank you so much for having me on here. This is my first podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know I'm kind of shy when it comes to talking.
I thought you did a great job.
Oh, thank you. And I think you did a great job interviewing. That's like an art itself.
Yeah, I'm like learning it, and I feel like it's funny because when I was younger, like a younger kid, I used to think about interviewing people and how like athletes or people that I looked up to or musicians, how I would have loved to like interview them and ask them questions. So I'm kind of like living the dream now. I get to like interview people, and I do like it. I'm enjoying it. I feel like I'm getting better at it and doing the best I can, you know.
For sure. Yeah, I guess the only thing I have left to say is you know, I think it's yeah, just stay creative and just I promise I won't have you do a cat crossword t-shirt.
Yeah.
I promise if I get 10 cats in my what'd you say?
We should make one because like my girlfriend has 4 cats and we can like
What are their names?
Frank, O'Malley, or Thomas O'Malley. You can call him Thomas O'Malley or O'Malley from the movie Aristocats.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah. And then Sweetheart is the only girl. She gets bullied by all the boys, but she hangs in there. She's tough. And then Gohan is the wild child. Gohan actually bit my arm like 2 months ago, and then my whole entire arm and hand got infected, and I had to go to the hospital for 3 days.
Oh my god.
To get antibiotics. So
I'm glad you're all right.
Thank you. I'm glad I didn't have to get my hand cut off. But Gohan's he's my little buddy now, and we're friends. He apologized, and he feels bad for injuring me. So
well, let's make a shirt for her.
We should make like a crossword puzzle with the faces of all 4
But that's
cats.
all. No, we're not doing it for anyone else.
Yeah.
It's too hard.
Yeah. So let's do this is the fun part of the show where I ask we're going to do some fun questions here. So tell me, we're going to do 3 of them. So the first question is where's your favorite place you ever traveled?
My favorite place I ever traveled, that's a hard question. I'm just going to go ahead and say England.
Which part of England?
My boyfriend and I traveled to Camden.
Okay.
And
is that north or south?
It's kind of like south, like London.
Cool.
It was just so cool. Like I was talking about, like there's a cool like music scene, punk rock, all sorts of music. That's where Amy Winehouse started singing in bars. And
I love the UK. Like I've been to Scotland.
Yeah, speaking of Radiohead,
yeah.
You know, I love UK bands. They're
Me too.
Amazing, and I don't know, they just bring something really unique and raw to the table.
Yeah, I love the UK. I've been to Scotland. I haven't really been around England too much. And I'm Irish too, and it's not really the UK, but I do feel like the UK is like its own thing. It's not Europe. I don't really consider it Europe. But I'm a huge fan over there. Scotland's sweet. You should go to Scotland.
I would love to. Yeah, I really loved I don't know, I just love the music and the art over there. It was really inspiring.
Yeah, Scotland like is super looks like that basically, like green hills, just like green everything.
Oh, that's
huge mountains that are like green, and it's like just the most beautiful place.
That's wonderful.
What's your favorite breakfast food?
Oh, I love breakfast food. If I had to open a restaurant, it would be a breakfast.
A breakfast joint.
Yep. But my favorite breakfast food is I love crepes, French crepes.
Crepes are great. Yeah, crepes are really good. My dad used to make them for us when we were kids, and he'd fill them with strawberries and whipped cream.
Yep.
Yeah, they're the bomb.
What about you?
You're gonna
Gotcha.
no. It's just funny because you're gonna judge me so much based off this answer, but this is like potentially like the most American way of answering this question. My favorite breakfast food is a bacon, egg, and cheese McGriddle from McDonald's with hash browns.
Ooh, I do love McDonald's, so I don't blame you.
That's about the only thing at McDonald's that I can eat without feeling really sick afterward. But those McGriddles are so freaking good.
Especially like when you're hungover and
Yeah.
not that. Yeah, I mean,
And
like,
the hash browns, oh my god.
yeah, they're the
unbelievable.
bomb. They're awesome. It's funny. I would rather have McDonald's coffee over like Starbucks or any kind of like bougie coffee place. Like not that Starbucks is bad, but I don't know. I like McDonald's coffee.
Starbucks tastes burnt to me. I don't like their coffee.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people
My
say.
second favorite breakfast food is these pancakes from First Watch. You ever go to First Watch?
I've never been there.
Oh, you got to go to First Watch. It's unbelievable. They have these pancakes. They're called lemon ricotta pancakes. They're just literally the best pancakes you'll ever eat in your life. They're seriously amazing. And their coffee at First Watch is unbelievable. First Watch is the thing I love about First Watch, and I have this kind of like philosophy in business. So First Watch, there's nothing like necessarily like super unique or different about First Watch. They just their food is just really, really high quality and really good. And their coffee is really, really, really good. And just having really, really good food, really, really good coffee, like that's all you need. And they have a really successful business. And that's kind of how I look at my business. Like I'm just trying to provide a really, really high quality product. And if I can in service, if I can just provide a really, really high quality product and service, my business is going to be just fine. And that's what I think is cool about First Watch. It's like they're like, we're going to open this breakfast place. We're only going to stay open till 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. We're just going to serve amazing food, and we're going to be successful. And that's why I'm a huge fan of First Watch.
That's awesome. I can't wait to check it out.
Oh, you got to go. Go with your boyfriend. Yeah, you guys will have a great time. Food's amazing. All right, last question. Favorite restaurant in Cleveland?
Oh man.
I know. I'm hitting you with some hard ones here.
Oh,
I actually officially have one.
You do?
I officially have one. And I didn't have one for years, but I officially have a favorite restaurant in Cleveland. You want me to say what mine is?
Okay, you go first.
So officially for the world to hear, my favorite restaurant in Cleveland is Gibbs Butcher Block in Olmsted Falls. It's a tiny little restaurant in Olmsted Falls, and it's a basic. So Gibbs Butcher Block is a butcher shop in Olmsted Falls or Columbia Station, and then they also have a restaurant, and it's really just like the best food ever. Every time I go there, I'm a huge meat eater. If you're not a big meat eater, you probably won't enjoy it that much. They just have like super high quality like meats and stuff like that, and the sides are amazing, and the last couple times I've eaten there, I'm like, I think this is officially my favorite restaurant in Cleveland. It's just, again, just super high quality food, and that's it. The restaurant on the inside is not fancy. It's not super nice. It's just a basic, but the food is out of this world. And that's all you need. Is why
it like a lunch spot? Or?
No, it's like a dinner spot for sure. They sell like bison burgers and steaks, and
nice.
They have a really good salmon BLT if you like salmon.
Oh, I love salmon. Yep.
Yeah. So if you and your boyfriend ever want to go somewhere and get something to eat, get a really good dinner, you should go there and get the salmon BLT, and he should get the bison burger. I always get the bison burger when I go.
That's a really difficult question.
Why don't you give me like two?
I'm gonna have to say, okay, can I give you like my top 2 in Cleveland?
You can give me your top 2.
Okay. I would have to say Thai Fun in Tremont. That's one of my favorites.
I don't think I've been to Thai Fun in Tremont. What's so good about it? It's just really good.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's just I love Thai food. It's so good. And everyone there is awesome. They're so nice.
That's having nice way. That's how Gibbs is like the waitresses are super nice and they're just nice people.
Yeah.
It's again, it's not hard. Just have nice people working here.
Yeah.
Sell really good food and have nice people working here.
I like the atmosphere. I don't know. I'm really big on patios. Like, I love sitting outside in the summertime and eating.
Yeah, my favorite patio in Tremont, speaking of Tremont, is Southside's patio.
Oh, yeah, that place is awesome, too.
They got the best patio.
I love Southside. They're great. My second favorite, speaking of crepes, because that's my favorite breakfast food, is I'd have to say Le Petit Triangle.
Nice. That's in Tremont?
In Ohio City.
Oh, Ohio City. Okay, I don't think I've been over there to that place.
But I don't discriminate. I love all the restaurants in Cleveland.
If you like breakfast food and you like crepes and stuff like that, you are going to love First Watch. I don't know where there is one around here. I would say the closest probably like Shaker Heights or Beechwood.
Okay.
But I think there's got to be one over in Beechwood for sure. I'm a West Sider, so I wouldn't. On the West Side, I go to Middleburg Heights or the one in Westlake. So.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm really excited to check it out.
Yeah, you guys got to go for sure.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show. It was super nice officially meeting you in person and getting to sit in here in your little studio and see your artwork and see it in person. It's all like really amazing stuff. And why don't you go ahead and shout out like your socials and everything, and if there's any like events here that are coming up or any events that you want to promote, like go ahead and shout that stuff out and get it up in the video description as well.
Every third Friday at Negative Space, we do a concert series. We host a lot of local bands. Feel free to come up any third Friday to see, a local concert. We also do the very last Saturday last Saturday of the month, we do open mic, and that usually draws in a really great crowd. So those are the events coming up at Negative Space where you can see my art and everyone else in the gallery. My social media on Instagram is Tesla Art, which is TESSLA_art. So
yeah, we'll get all that stuff in the description to the video so that people are able to have stuff to click on and they can actually see it. And I just want everybody to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, and go ahead and share this with your family, your friends, anyone that you think would enjoy listening. I want to thank everybody for listening to another episode of the Daybreak Podcast, and thank Tessa one more time for being a guest on the show. It was a really awesome time.
Oh, thank you, Kyle. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right. Thank you, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Take care.